I think I'm enjoying these Facebook Lives more every day. I feel like I'm with you or you're here with me. It's kind of a celebration of parenting. And you don't hear those two words in the same sentence very often. You don't hear parents sit around saying, oh man, I'm just celebrating being a parent. Unless, of course, they just had a newborn and they haven't had to change their diapers or stay up all night with them once. We're here today not primarily to solve problems, although that's the most common kind of question that I get. And we will be solving problems. So you're going to get plenty of that. We're here to learn to be spectacularly, ridiculously effective parents overall. We're here actually more to prevent problems than to treat them. Although if you're good at preventing them, solving them becomes like child's play. This is possible. I see and read success stories all day from all over the world, from every culture imaginable. We're not here to manage our kids or to control them better. We're here to love and teach them so that they can feel loved and learn to be loving and responsible. Children like that are happy. It unleashes their confidence, their creativity, their sense of meaning. Such happy children simply don't engage in the behaviors that parents complain about everywhere. Addictions to phones, games, porn, drugs, or entitlement, ingratitude, lack of responsibility, or lump them all together and just call it attitude, or stress, depression, lack of self-esteem. We keep addressing those problems as though they were the problem, but they're not. They're all responses to the pain of not feeling loved, which happens not because we're bad parents, but because we were not sufficiently unconditionally loved either, and we simply don't know how to love them. It's education. I just got through reading an article today in the Wall Street Journal, and we're going to see if we can find a way to get it out there, but we're working on that, copyrights and stuff. But it was an article about, our great intentions in the beginning of here are the kids all cooped up with us at home and we're not going to work and they're not going to school. And it showed this beautiful little schedule of, at 9 o'clock we do this and 10 we do this and 11 o'clock we do some incredibly cool thing and exercise and we learn together. And by the second day, it was more screen time. And by the fourth day, it was screen time. And if I give you $100, will you go away? And that happens because children who don't feel unconditionally loved and are in pain are constantly seeking for pain relief, which is completely different from feeling loved and happy, in which case they find things to do on their own. Imagine that. And you don't have to tell them what to do, except for certain, it's kind of routine chores that come along with living in a house. For a balanced and more complete understanding of everything we're going to talk about, you can go to realloveparents.com and reallove.com. But here today, we'll be discussing some of the individual principles and the application of them, mostly because I'm going to be answering your questions or your issue that you're bringing up. Here's a mother that writes, I was driving home from shopping this morning and listening to the recording of the Facebook Live from yesterday. Now, pay attention. This is Facebook Live for parenting, for loving parents, number 10. That means if you look over on the left side of your Facebook page and it says units, there are 9 more. Watch them again. These conversations that we're having are potentially life-changing transformations. The people that I hear from who succeed in changing their families are all committed, like this mother whose sentence I just read to you. They listen to the calls, often more than once. They write in with questions. They come to the Facebook site. They go to the Real Love site, the Real Love parenting site. In other words, they're serious about parenting, whereas most of us aren't. We were very everybody loves a puppy. I mean, we had one, a Rottweiler puppy. Is there anything cuter? Fuzzy little thing, lick your little fingers, sweet, not bark. And then they turn into these great big 130-pound monsters that devour the bones from a rack of ribs in a gulp without chewing, and become a great deal more difficult as they poop all over the yard and all the stuff that dogs do. It's easy to parent a little infant who looks at you like you're the center of the universe. It takes dedication to learn how to be a parent for the rest of the kid's life. And see, you didn't agree just to have a baby. We all agreed to raise them. So here we are, learning how. The mother says, on the recording I was listening to, which, if you go to the place called Units that I described to you, is number 5, Tuesday, March 24, she says there's a 2-minute segment that stood out. You talked about what it means, meaning me, you talked about what it means when we have an eruption of anger. What an eruption of anger means for anybody. You explained to the dad who had written that his 2 young boys need to identify all 3 of the attitudes that are contained in their outbursts at each other. Anger. Now, notice these are the things that we have a 0 tolerance for. And I've talked about that in previous units of this Facebook Live. One outburst of anger contains 3 of the things we have no tolerance for. 1, anger. That's obvious. Complaining, because when these 2 kids are angry at each other, what are they doing? Inherent in that is complaining about the other one. I've never heard an argument where somebody's complaining about themselves. And they're lying, because each of them is blaming the other one for being the problem. Neither of them is taking responsibility for their own part. Not taking responsibility is lying. Mom says, once I got home, I decided to turn it into a mini lesson for all of us. Give me strength. That's beautiful. Instead of just listening to this and going, well, that's interesting, use it. She's doing what I was talking about in the Wall Street Journal article. She's actually occupying this time that everybody's spending together to create lessons so that she's a better parent and so that her children are happier people. She said, I created a mini lesson for all of us, me and the 4 kids, and we listened to the recording, not the whole thing. In fact, she was very helpful to you. If you go to Unit 5, the timestamp is from 26 minutes and 20 seconds to 28 minutes and 30 seconds. That's 2 minutes of your time, 2 minutes that she required her kids to listen. And she said, one of my kids during our meeting was upset at another kid who he said was sitting too close to him. Now, you've all seen this, and it sounds like, stop touching me, or you're too close, or I was sitting here first, or sit over there. You've heard 100 versions of this. Mom says, so that was our first example of applying what I had just heard in the car, of demonstrating how all 3, anger, complaining, lying, apply in this exact situation. After the angry, touchy child worked through these steps, honestly describing how he was angry and complaining and lying, she required that of the touchy child. And here's how you do it. You don't say, you have to do this. Then they automatically fight you. Listen to my tone of voice. She said something like, I wasn't there. We got all day, baby. But we're going to sit here and wait until you tell us how you did 3 different things that we have a 0 tolerance for when you complained when your brother sat down next to you. So, the floor is yours. See what I've done? Instead of being the bossy, naggy, grouchy parent, I'm just saying, here's your chance to learn. You already know the principles. I'm not going to repeat them, nagging. We're just going to sit here until you do it. That's what the mother did. Brilliant. And she even says, it was amazing to see. After he got done telling the truth about what he was doing, he was over it. The anger was gone. You hearing this? Telling a child, stop that. I have never seen that work. I have never seen a child who is angry and you tell the child, stop it, and they go, oh, thank you, mother. Happiness is so much better. Thank you for reminding me. Never. But mom says, this was so cool. In the past, he would have defended himself and argued. Then I would have been irritated and it would have escalated into the usual battle that went nowhere. And then, of course, the next time we'd do the same thing. But as he simply told the truth, and I loved him. Now, you've got to be wondering when she says, I loved him, what did she do? Reach over and plant a big sloppy kiss on his cheek? No. Go get him his favorite dessert? No. By loving him, she means, and she says, I just gently listened to him and accepted him. Well, how do you accept a kid? Oh, please. You know how to communicate not accepting a child. Don't do that. As you're telling me about your mistakes with your children, you've seen my tone of voice live right here, actually literally live on Facebook Live. I just describe how it doesn't work. Or I just listen to you. I don't go, oh, you didn't do that, did you? See, that's not accepting. So she just gently listened and accepted. In other words, she loved him as he told the truth, and he felt it. This is in the mother's words. And his anger was gone like a, wait for it, miracle. A miracle. In one family meeting where they listened to a 2-minute recording. I'd recommend you take the same recording and apply it in some way in your own family. This is proof that it's not the whining or the attacking that needs to be addressed. Now, stop doing that with your brother. Well, you're addressing the attacking, all right, but you're addressing it in the absolute worst way because you're addressing his attacking by attacking him. It's the loving them while they're angry, and especially if you can help them see the truth of it. Now, if you go into a family meeting and you attempt to mimic my tone of voice and you don't mean it, they will identify you immediately as a fraud. No, you see these as teaching opportunities as opposed to personal irritations to you. That's the difference. That's what this mom did. Mom concludes, in fact, it is all of our homework, meaning the homework of all of us, to observe ourselves today. She gave this homework assignment to everybody in the room. I recommend every parent do this. Regularly give homework assignments. She said, our homework is to observe ourselves. She was including herself. Ooh, that's really, you want to get to be a better parent? Have your kids watch you. Observe ourselves and bring examples of how we use anger, whining, teasing, and the rest of the things we have zero tolerance for to our next family meeting tonight. Bring examples of how we did it wrong. Well, that ain't that hard. And if you can't think of examples of how you did those things, I promise you, your kids or siblings can't. It's like in just a few minutes, Mom says, we covered, now picture this, we spent an hour in school learning geometry that we're never going to use. And Mom says, it's like in just a few minutes, we covered psychology, social sciences, life management, life coaching, relationship skills, and how to be happy in our homeschooling curriculum in one meeting. That's pretty impressive. Then she ends with, love just makes everything work. Well, bless your heart for practicing what you heard on a video, for helping your family to be happy, and frankly, for giving us all a really great example of how to apply this stuff. A man writes to me, and he says, we've been having family meetings regularly for a while now. How cool of you. That's what real parents do. Real CEOs have meetings. Why do heads of families, mothers and fathers, not have family meetings? But this man says, we've been doing it regularly for a while. And just my son and I, his wife, the details don't matter, was a drug addict, fell out of the picture. So he's got this younger teenage kid. And so the family is dad and younger teenage kid. And he says, and we have family meetings. Doesn't matter how many people are present in the meeting. I have found, says dad, that the meetings really help us feel connected every day. This is with a teenage boy. Are you getting that? Because how often have I heard this? Oh, I'm just having such trouble with my teenage boy. And people go, wow, teenage boys, what can you do? You know, can't live with them, can't kill them or you go to jail. No, wrong. This guy has found an answer. He's having family meetings. We talk about any issues or concerns, when we felt happy or sad, and then we read something from the Real Love and Parenting book. Did you hear that? I went by it really quick, but we're going to go by it slower now. This father understands the purpose of family meetings. What does he talk about in his family meetings? Because people ask this all the time. What do we do in family meetings? Well, if you have the Real Love and Parenting book, you can go to the index and look up family meetings. And there's 2 places in the parenting book that tell you exactly how to have a family meeting. Or you take the Ridiculously Effective Parenting training and you learn, about 100 times more about how to have a family meeting. But he tells us a short version right here. So we don't need to go anywhere right now. He says, we talk about what issues have we had? And he tells me, we talk about, have we had any conflicts today, either with each other or with somebody else in person or with somebody else electronically now because the 2 of them are isolated in the house? Are any jobs being ignored? That would fall under issues. Did you leave the bread out from the night before and, now you can re-sole your shoes with it. Is there anything that you're worried about? Like, are you worried about the pandemic? Issues. That's one thing that we do in our family meeting. Second, when have we felt happy? See, it's not just about correcting problems. They both speak individually about some times that in the last 24 hours, they have felt happy. And why they think they did. What were they doing? Because I can tell you already, every single time that you feel happy, it's related in some way to your feeling surprised, loved, loving, responsible. And it becomes a pattern. Third thing they talk about in the meeting, when we have not felt happy. And why? Same reasons. We have not felt loved, not been loving, not been responsible. And then we talk about what we can do about it, which shockingly is to do something about feeling loved, loving, and responsible. And then lastly, they read from the parenting book. Or in his case, because he's doing the Ridiculously Effective Parenting training, they watch a 10-minute segment of the 45 hours of training. That's a lot of training, which teaches them both even more how to increase the happiness in their family. That's their daily family meeting. Some families have this meeting twice a day. How could you not? How could we possibly be loving and teaching our children without gathering them around us and, loving and teaching them? This has revolutionized this family of father and son. It has revolutionized families that have 10 children. It doesn't matter how many. It's all the same principles. You just have more opportunities to teach with, 10 kids. He says his family is unrecognizable from before. And they just do those 4 things at family meetings. He doesn't make a big deal about it. Doesn't get mad at his kid. They just love and teach, or dad does. And then dad says, or we talk about something else that is relevant to our happiness. Maybe we want to go fishing together, whatever. Then there's the miscellaneous, but he does the first 4 every time. We finish with recounting what we are grateful to have received each day. Oh, kill me. That's just too beautiful. How many times do you think I've wished that I caught on to this earlier in my own life? He does gratitude expressions. He tells his son what he's grateful for. His son tells his dad what he's grateful for. How could such a family not be happy? As opposed to sitting around and moaning and grumbling and fighting with each other and finding fault with each other. And, well, that ain't going to end well. Dad says, when we first started doing this, first started doing the family meeting thing, my son would roll his eyes or say something like, do we have to? Now, listen really close. Yeah, we have to. Too bad. In the beginning, they're going to find it different, and they always resist something new unless it's go to bed whenever you want to, or homework is optional, and tonight we're going to have ice cream instead of, vegetables. But really good and powerful things are always different in the beginning. Okay, everybody doesn't like being isolated or in some way restricted or having their income limited by the present pandemic. What if it came out that they had suddenly developed a vaccine? And the vaccine involved getting 4 shots, 1 in each arm and 1 in each leg. And it's inconvenient. And just for fun, we'll make it so that it's a thick serum, and so the needle has to be bigger. I've given a lot of shots. So, would you rather have the 4 shots or be dead? Give me the 4 shots. Actually, give them to me twice. Almost anything worthwhile involves some difficulty in the beginning. Becoming physically fit, going to school, learning something new, practicing a musical instrument. It goes on and on. So in the beginning, when you say we're going to have family meetings, they are not going to say, oh, Dad, we've been waiting for years for you to tell us that. They're not. But Dad knew that this would be good for them. So he did it anyway. And he did it like this. Children say, oh, do we have to? And listen to this tone of voice. Yeah, this is what we're going to do. Not what many parents do. Well, do you hear that? How tentative my voice is? I'm already screwed. They're not going to hear anything that I say. Or I justify it. Well, we need it because of the kid doesn't listen to a single word you say after that. No, this is what we're going to do. In order to get from here to there, we have to get in the car. In order to move the car, you have to fasten your seatbelt. You don't beg your teenage child to fasten the seatbelt. You say, we're not going where you want to go till you buckle up your belt. I'm not mad about it. It is a requirement. So there are some things that we just got to do. No child smiles at the thought of homework, but it has to be done, or seatbelts or anything else. Dad says, but now it's become such a part of our routine, get this, that my son will remind me if I forget. I should transport him here and he'll do these. Do you hear that? The son, who's a teenage boy who's supposed to be impossible at that age, reminds his dad of family meetings if he forgets. Why? Why does the boy remind his dad? Because he's supposed to? That's not going to work. Because he likes feeling loved by his father. That's why. If your kids aren't liking family meetings, it's very likely that you're not doing them very well yet, which means keep practicing until you can. Your kids will like them too. Dad says it really has helped with keeping up the loving and teaching. Rather than mention, this is a clever thing that he says here. I've only said it 2 or 3 times in all of the chats and blogs ever, and I think he came up with this on his own. Rather than during the day mention every little thing that happens that needs attention, like you left the cheese out or you didn't pick up your clothes or what. He says, unless it's urgent, we never talk about those things during the day. We leave it to the family meeting. Now, do you see how cool that is? How smart that is on the part of this father? This is one of the main reasons for the meetings. No kid wants to hear reminders of things they were supposed to do or didn't do all day long. You know why? Because then every time their parent speaks, they're expecting to hear something negative. What a drag. So smart parents just go, it'll wait. One day I was listening outside a room where two of my kids were talking about something, and they were arguing, and one of them was saying he was right, and the other one was saying they were right, and they were arguing back and forth, and one of them finally said, well, we can work it out now between us, or we can wait till the family meeting and Dad will help us work it out. And they both went, let's work it out now. It was very clever. Sometimes kids will do a thing late. Sometimes they won't do it at all. But all the things that need to be talked about can almost invariably wait till the meeting. So now the kid doesn't hate it every time he hears his parents speak, because in the past it was always associated with some kind of criticism. Brilliant on the part of the dad, who then concludes, I need to remember to inform him of his successes as well. I need to get better at that one. Yeah, who doesn't? So you've pretty much honed the things that need to be worked on, and now you've discovered, I'm not spending as much time telling him that he does things well. Like one dad that you just mentioned. He'll bring up a family meeting if you don't. It's love and teach. Love and teach all the time. Love we do all the time. And the teaching involves teaching them not just the things they do wrong. If I were teaching you the piano and just said wrong, wrong, wrong every time you played a wrong note, you'd never play the piece right. It also involves telling our children, that looks like it really went well for you. Or earlier I heard you talking to your brother and you just resolved the conflict all by yourself. How did that feel? Notice there's no praise here. I don't go, you're such a good boy. Praise has such dangers that are talked about in the parenting book and the parenting training. No, just feedback. It's information. Did you like it that you worked it out on your own, as opposed to what a good boy you are? So I hear stories like this all day, and I love reading them. This is an example of how effective parenting has completely changed this family. Now I'm talking for myself, not reading what somebody else wrote. Since the quarantine began, Donna and I have been completely isolated from other human beings for, what day is it? 18 days in a row. Not touched anybody, or not even got close to anybody, forget 6 feet. And I've seen, as a result, I write emails and blogs virtually all day long, but sometimes in the background, I have television programs running. And Donna teases me because I'll say, this is a really good show. And she'll say, well, you said that the second and third time you saw it too. Apparently I'm not paying attention much. But I've seen some shows that I haven't seen before. And when I take them all together, the ones I've seen lately and the ones I've seen before, I've seen a very disturbing pattern. One, kids, especially teenagers, but all kids, are astonishingly, on these shows, disrespectful to their parents. Like say things that I could only picture being dismembered if I had said as a child. Completely inappropriate. Second, the parents don't do anything about it. They just shrug their shoulders like, oh, well, yeah, she's 16, so, I deserve whatever entitled, snotty abuse she dishes out, as though age were a justification for their behavior. Not really, no. Third, parents are portrayed as idiots. They're described as not understanding their children at all. Children are constantly saying, you just don't understand me. And they say it to each other, and everybody agrees, yeah, those parents are so out of touch, they just don't know anything, that they don't understand the child and that they don't understand life. So parents are portrayed as morons. There was a recent study where 83% of cartoons, this is for little kids, in 83% of cases where parents were portrayed, they were portrayed as either foolish, stupid, not understanding, overly in some negative light. 83%. Well, the kids are paying attention to this. I've talked about how kids on social media are essentially raising each other because they're teaching each other just by communicating what is normal. Because if you see something over and over and over again, well, that's the new normal. And by implication, if it's normal, this is unconscious, it must be acceptable and even desirable. It's happening everywhere. They do it in person, they do it by text, they do it on television shows where parents are portrayed as morons or cruel or both. If you allow your children to watch television, fine. I have no particular opinion about whether you do or you don't. How much, I have an opinion about, but that's another subject. Watch some shows with them. Couldn't say that strongly enough. And pause the program when these moments of disrespect or criticizing parents come up, or moments of confusion on the part of kids don't know what to do, or they treat each other badly, or whatever, and you teach them what's true, or just simply ask them what they're seeing. And if you've been having family meetings, the kids will go, well, that kid's being entitled and snotty. Now you didn't have to say anything. But watching a movie or a television program together is a wonderful teaching opportunity, because the opportunities you're going to have to watch your kids interact with their friends are going to be pretty limited. They tend to do that away from you. I also encourage you, because if children have electronics, there has to be complete transparency. You have to have access to every single keystroke that they ever make on their electronic devices. And occasionally, if you simply say this is how it's going to be if you're going to have a phone, then you sample their texts. You just pick up the phone, find some other kid's name, or just scroll through a conversation, and you say, so describe this conversation to me. Whether it fosters feeling loved, loving, and responsible, or it doesn't. Teach them using their experiences, but don't express disapproval. Don't pick up their text that they did with a friend when they were goofing around and go, you do that, your kid's shut down and isn't going to hear a thing you say. But if you sample their real life texts and listen to their conversations, and then ask them what that's teaching them, or ask them what they're teaching other people, or ask them how it makes them feel. Does that make you feel happy, or does it make you feel unhappy? Sampling what they're doing and talking about them at family meetings is golden stuff for a family. And it is the curriculum for a family meeting. There's been a lot in this one Facebook Live for you to make big differences in your family. I think you can. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.